Thank you so much.
You know, one of the best alive. You know, one of the best storytellers.
Thank you so
much. And I remember I met you at an event one time, and I did ask you if you've seen the Facebook page, and you said,
I think vaguely at the time. Yeah.
You're like, you know, one day it's going to happen.
Yeah. And today's the day.
Today's the day. They say time is always the best, predictor of actions. And we're here today. In how are you, my brother?
I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
Very well, very well. You know, a lot has changed in between. We've had about 6 prime ministers since I set up the Facebook page.
Yeah. A lot of change. I mean, a lot of life changes. Everything changes. Everything's always in constant flux.
But the most important thing is that, you know, we are still here.
We're here. We're healthy. We're alive.
And doing what we love.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, you got the family, which we'll be getting into life, you know, how it's changed. But on the outside, you still remain one of those consistent, solid individuals who's got a lot of respect. So I saw a post on your IG page. You know, you did put out something about releasing a project in honor of your
sons. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your sons.
Sons. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And as a fan, you know, it was like, oh, we getting that swing music.
Yeah.
You know, we've been waiting for long. Industry, whether DJs or core fans or even people who listen to your music in general, were quite excited about that news. I think we have to start from that point, you know, start from that current view. You were dad already before this dedication, right? I mean, you had children before.
Well, no, I mean, I have 4 kids now.
4 kids.
I have 2 sons and 2 daughters. And my oldest son is actually 5. So in the last 5 years, I've had all my kids.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been back to back. Big up to my missus. She's amazing.
Non-stop?
Yeah.
Same mom?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic, man. Yeah. Same mom. Because in that same 5 years, I've had 2.
Oh, amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you, brother.
Wow.
Same
mom?
Same mom.
Yeah, good, nice.
So what influenced the decision to actually do this dedication? Because, I mean, you haven't released
music for a while. Yeah. What it was is I'm writing a new album called Next Chapter. The album is also a book. So the album will come out in 2020, and it will the book will follow. Next Chapter, the book will follow after the album. Now, this is the first album I'm going to release under Sway Dasafo, because if you know, like from the beginning of my journey, when I first started rapping, I was called Sway Dasafo, and then I shortened it to Sway because I had there was a certain persona and a certain person and personality that I got across with Sway, and I always had the ambition that one day I'm gonna put it back to my full name, and I'm gonna bring in more of like what my life's purpose is. That's what I say on This Is My Demo, 5 albums that I'm done and I'm through. When I reached the 5 albums of Sway, it wasn't that I was going to quit. It was that I was going to transition into the person who I've always wanted to be in terms of like an author and also a composer of music. And so this will be the first album that I release as Sway Dasafo. And while I was writing this album, there was a lot of thoughts that were coming into my mind and things I was coming across that I was like, I'd love to share this with my children, but they're too young. They're so young, they wouldn't understand at this moment in time. And instead of me like writing it down, I said I'll put it in a context which is most easy for me, and this is song form. So then I created an album. I created a whole album for my firstborn called Stories.
Stories.
Yeah, Stories was Stories. And then another album for my secondborn called Songs. Was Songs from the Stash, Stories from the Safe.
Yeah.
I probably got it the wrong way around. And then I created another album for my twin daughters called Messages from the Mind. So those albums, they're going to be released before the Next Chapter album. And all of those albums, that they're really like personal, like there's messages and things within that music that is for my children, but also for all people in general. And I got a lot of content, and, you know, it's not like a commercial release. It's not like big campaign, music videos. It's just going to exist, and over time people will discover it and people will get into it. And I think it's a really important thing to do.
It is very important, and it represents various stages of your life.
Definitely.
You know, with fatherhood. And you did mention about, you know, you wanting to Sway Dasafo, your full name, with all the things you've listed. What is the difference that, this current Sway, what is the difference with?
Well, one thing I think people kind of never really realized about me, and people never really had the full scope of like how this all really started. Now, when I first got into the concept of making music, when I was about like 14, 15, and I really wanted to be a record producer. Like I really wanted to produce records and put them out there and find artists to feature on my records. But I was also, I had a knack for English. I had a knack for literature. You see, the knack for literature came from being born in London, then being taken to Ghana when I was very young. Now, when I was taken to Ghana, I was taken more or less when I was born. You know what I mean? So from like 3-4 months, from then to like the age of 3, I was in Ghana. And if you have to understand, this is the time where you're developing speech. So when I came back from Ghana, like I couldn't speak, because I was with my grandma and she wasn't speaking no English to me. So I couldn't speak any English. Going into nursery, like words were fascinating to me because I didn't know what people were saying. People try and speak to me and I couldn't pick it up. So my mum always told me that you took the extra mile when it came to words. You always ask what a new word means as you were age 4, age 5, and words became my thing, and that was because I had a disadvantage when I came. So I had to work harder to catch up with speech, which gave me the whole fascination for English literature. And that, coupled with the fact that I just like rap music, it's what I identified with, meant that when I first started producing, I said, you know what, I'm going to rap myself until I can find a better rapper. You know what I mean? And that was the idea of Sway. So it wasn't that I came in the scene and I wanted to be a rapper. I started off as a producer. And when I started off as a producer, I actually started off producing Ghanaian artists. So see, I mean, so the first album I worked on was Tic Tac, a guy called Tic Tac.
So you actually did the song?
I produced 6 tracks on the Masem album, a Tic Tac Masem album, when I was 17 years old. Those times in Ghana, we were living in a place, because we were building my mum's house at the time, so we were renting a place in an area called Taifa.
Taifa.
Yeah, and my brother said he knows a rapper over here, and the guy's really popping, blah, 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 and this was a Abrokwa. So he took me over to Abrokwa's house. And I'm just a kid at the time. I was getting back to Ghana, really trying to find my way as a producer. And, I was rapping a bit, but rapping wasn't my main thing. And then I remember speaking to him, and there was a conversation that resonated with me forever with Abrokwa. When I spoke to him, I told him about what I do, etc. And he said, somebody like you who is so proud of being Ghanaian, but also you're born and raised in Britain, you have really like a responsibility to merge those worlds. And from that point onwards, I kind of understood what he meant, because when I was in the UK, then it was like drum and bass, garage and stuff like that, there wasn't that much presence of Africanness. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then when you go to Ghana and you go to around that scene, the UK people were seen as the people that are show-offs. You understand? It wasn't like that unity that we have now. It was kind of like the UK people were the UK people and the locals were the locals. And everybody was like, there was no real respect for each other's craft. Them guys, in GH didn't care about UK garage and all of this stuff. They didn't want to, all they wanted to know was American stuff. It was DMX, Snoop, this kind of stuff. But UK artists for them they weren't to be taken seriously. Yeah. And at the same time, for the UK acts, they weren't really into other than those who used to travel a lot, they wasn't really into your
cultural
Kwade and all of them artists that were around at the time. I was, so I was into Bushkin, Mighty Mo, Heartless Crew, So Solid. But at the same time, I was listening to Bookback. You understand? So I was one of the few people that was kind of like in the middle of those worlds, so to speak.
At the time you met Abrokwa, was this Abrokwa after Paimuka has been released?
Yeah. He was big. He was
20,
big at the time.
20 years. He's having that.
He was big at the time. Yeah, he was already big at the time. He was already an OG when I met him. He wasn't just starting out. So.
Well, that's a fascinating conversation to have, and you still remember those very words that, if we look at